Good morning, Mickey. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Christo?
Oh, really terrific. Especially when I hear about the success you are having. This is affecting everyone in the nation, and we just love it. How did Bonds for the Win actually develop?
There was this guy named Steven, about, I'd say 8 months ago now, maybe 9 months ago, who walked into his school board. He didn't even have children at the school. He just was a concerned citizen. And he walked in there and he basically said, I am going to file a claim against your surety bond if you don't stop these mask mandates now. And all the different board members looked at each other and immediately voted down the mask mandate. And so he ended up getting up on the SGT report. And my friend Ann and I were watching this going, wait, what just happened? What words did he just say? Here we've been going to these board meetings. We're standing behind a glass wall. We get our 2 minutes of fame. These people aren't listening to us. They're glossed over because they've all been bribed. And that's the truth of it. They've all been bribed. And they think they're doing the virtuous thing, pushing a mandate that's not a law. But the fact is, as soon as you put them back on their heels and you say, no, actually, not only are mandates not enforceable by law, you are literally breaking 27 state, federal, and international laws. In doing so, they're like, oh, wait, what just happened? They're looking at you going, and it's kind of a wake-up call for them, really, because these people have been manipulated into thinking they're doing the virtuous thing, that they're protecting us through their fear campaign, through their agenda. And so yeah, so it was this guy, Steve, that really motivated myself and Anne. Anne she's just an avid researcher. I mean, this woman, I call her my code breaker because she has gone into files, like secret UFO files, I don't even know, just for decades. And you're just looking at this woman going, how do you know all this stuff? So when it came time to go looking into surety bonds, this was not information on every website. And this
Right.
really took her some, getting to know every different type of search engine out there, including Zandex, which is a Russian search engine. And she came back with some incredible information. And so we just started out with the softball approach. The softball approach is this 3-step process. You ask for their bond and or their criminal liability policy. That immediately gets them on the defense. Oh, and you ask for the oath of office. And when you ask for these things, it brings them back to this sort of come to Jesus moment where they go, wait a minute, I did sign an oath. What did my oath say again? Do you know what I mean?
I do know.
They don't remember.
That's right. We found out a lot of sheriffs, a lot of politicians, and a lot of school board members, they don't even remember what is in the oath.
No.
It's just
They haven't read the
crazy.
Constitution. They haven't read the Constitution of their state. And it's very simple. Don't harm each other. Don't steal from each other. It's very simple.
Common law, constitutional law, the way it first started is only two things, like you said: do not harm another and deliver what you promise.
Yeah.
Those two things, that's it.
Yeah.
Boy, and a lot of even our law enforcement people, the police, the sheriffs, they don't realize this because their whole life they've been indoctrinated with the rogue government type of bar and admiralty law, and they don't realize what is really happening.
No, they have no idea. But at the same time, they've been manipulated with these tactics.
Yes.
So we're going to send you into jail if you don't do this. We're going to, the fear tactic, especially with doctors, was always, you have liability coverage. You have to follow our protocols or you're liable. Well, all we're doing now is turning the law back on them. And we're reminding them, actually, this is how this actually works. And you're doing exactly what they said, that
exactly.
you were going to do. Yeah.
It's really the people. Don't forget, we elected them. But if they don't do our bidding of what we want, then we have to get a little tough love here. And that's exactly what you're doing. Mickey, What is the difference between, because I know in some states I've been hearing that they have a blanket coverage instead of one person, one official, and one bond. What's the difference between that blanket coverage and the surety bond that you're talking about?
Yeah. So, all right. Bottom line is they did not want us pulling this curtain back on the wizard because they've been manipulating bonds. We all know they've been buying and selling our bonds. It's a whole manipulation, right? When you start pulling that curtain back, you realize they were self-bonding each other. So in order to meet the requirement of having a bond in their corporate system, right? Because they get to write the laws in their corporate system, as you know. They were actually self-bonding, meaning they were making themselves the beneficiary and the obligee. So they would be the only ones who could file a claim against themselves, which is obviously a conflict of interest, right?
Right.
So we found all sorts of corruption in the bonding process. We found people that didn't sign an oath. We found people that weren't bonded, even though they are clearly required under state statutes to be bonded. We had them under blanket policies. So what we kept doing was we kept going deeper and deeper. We found out that many of them are covered by blanket criminal liability policies. So in a sense, it's not really a bond, it's a liability policy. And they're not covered for breaking these laws. They're not covered if they are practicing medicine without a license. They're not covered if they're bypassing our due process as parents, for example. So they started realizing, oh, wow, we're not covered. And we're covered in this huge blanket policy. Well, that led to even more findings on their corruption. They had established risk management departments at each county level, which were paying out from taxpayer dollars on criminal liability. So let's just run through an example. Let's say you have a teacher and he's found molesting a child, right? This is a criminal action. The school needs coverage, right? So the actual policy is going through, the affidavit process goes through the risk management department. They don't even let you go straight to their insurance provider, which is seemingly extremely illegal.
Yes, that's what we've been finding out. You can't do it. Risk management must do it. What is that?
It's a whole other department that they made up. And they're telling you can't go. So that means insurance fraud. I mean, so let me get this straight. There are only so many surety liability companies that have been approved by the federal government to issue surety bonds. So I shouldn't have to go through any risk management department. Then
Right.
We're finding out that the risk management department is paying out with taxpayer dollars.
Right.
Who wants to pay into that system?
Exactly.
So I'm paying for their criminal activities so that they can be tyrants over me. Like, it's just, so when you pull pull the curtain back, the most effective thing we're really doing is we're putting them on notice. They didn't know better. We the people, unfortunately, people only know what they know. We know most of the people are in a deep state of hypnosis, right? So, and on top of that, they didn't realize they were taking bribes. They thought it was under the guise of safety, right? So by asking them for the oath of office, asking them for their bond, asking for their liability policy, they immediately become aware that they are personally liable for every action that they take. I don't care what authority tells you to break a law, you cannot commit laws. The second thing we did was give them a letter of intent, notifying them of the laws that they are in fact breaking. Again, this is a nice, kind gesture, guys. Like, this is not an affidavit. This is not a threat of a lawsuit. This is put them back in there. And everyone in the world should send out a letter of intent right now,
Right.
to every doctor, to every nurse, to every single, high school teacher, grade school teacher, anyone that's enforcing this stuff needs to know they're actually personally liable, and that the school's not going to be able to protect them because they're doing it. They're the ones imposing on our rights.
Oh, Mickey, let me ask you on the people getting into action, and that's what this program is. It's from Americans in Action. We're all about that. So with that, do you have on your website an idea of a letter that they can write?
Yep.
Oh, so what is your website? What is your website?
It's bondsforthewin.com.
Okay.
And like I said, this is nice, friendly, penmanship. This is all that is we're just using the post office. And we're sending letters. We are not suing anybody. I don't care what anyone says about what we're doing. It's literally just been as simple as step one, send them this FOIA request. And we've got one for every state on our website.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Step two, here's a sample letter of intent. Now, obviously, your case is different. Your state is different. Your state statutes are going to be slightly different. So we also have a section on our website called violations. So you can look up your state and see, okay, here are some common violations that these guys are in violation of. But there's also federal and international laws. You could just use that part of the template. We don't need to go overboard. We just need to put them on notice.
Right.
And then the third step really is entering into that affidavit process. And that's really what an affidavit is just a sworn testimony. And you're just basically under penalty of perjury saying, this is what's happening to my children at the school. And
It's actually a legal document, especially you must get it notarized, and that makes it a legal document under threat of perjury. Exactly.
Yeah. And people just need to know that it's a power of 3. If you send it in 3 times and they don't reply, they're admitting guilt.
That's right. Oh boy, you really did your research. The
well,
power
of 3. People like you. Yeah, no, the collaboration, I have to tell you, Christo, is blowing my mind. I mean, the amount of information and the amount of loopholes in their corrupt system that's coming out now is shocking. And everyone's ready to demystify the Pharaoh's spell casting and their magic tricks. Really, right. It's literally like dissolving in front of our eyes.
Exactly. Well, when you bring the light to the dark disappears.
Yep. Yeah. And I want to just give a quick example too, guys. Like, and I'm not trying to be a bully to anyone who's asleep or anything like that, but like I got a text yesterday from my son's school that they were going to put them in lockdown because of some PD issue in the neighborhood. Well, I don't trust these people anymore. I don't trust that they're not going to put them in lockdown and stick something up their nose or stick something in their body. Right. No, that's kidnapping.
That's right.
Sorry, you don't have my authority to lock him down under any circumstance. So I called him up and I said, yeah, you don't have authority to lock our kids down. You can send them to the library across the street and I'll pick them up. I said, or else I'm going to have to press charges and send an affidavit of my experience here that you're kidnapping my child against my free will. Because I don't care what kind of domestic disputes going on in the neighborhood. I don't trust these people anymore. They're asleep at the wheel. I don't trust them with my son, especially when they're going to lock him down or put him on some bus to nowhere. I don't know what they're doing at this point. So just that one call, within 5 minutes, they called everyone and said, no more lockdown.
That is awesome. That is you standing. And people have to understand that sometimes it just takes that conversation to let them know we do not consent and that is not okay. And if you do not do my bidding, I'm the person that puts you there, then you're going to have to pay the consequence on that. And and I love how you're coming from. It's an educational process first. And you give them the benefit of the doubt. Then if they don't do anything about that, then the knock becomes a little bit louder. And that's when you start with your affidavits. That's awesome.
I've got a girl who is just a rock star. And I won't say where in California, because she kind of works under the covers, if you will. She kind of works undercover. She literally has this affidavit process down to a T. It is so simple. It's like having the county or the city clerk on speed dial. And they have to get it out to the public servants, by the way. It's their job.
Absolutely.
So all you have to do is send a little notice. I don't like this smart meter in my house. I'm pretty sure it's putting out these waves and I can see it on the thing. And here's the proof. And you need to come remove this. Boom, it's gone. Yeah, my neighbors don't like it either. Boom, it's gone. Yeah, this is another affidavit. I don't like that. I see the kids down the street wearing masks. That doesn't seem legal. Boom, they're done. It's like things just magically fix themselves when she sends these letters.
Exactly. We have a friend in California that does the same thing, and she doesn't mind me mentioning her name. Her name is Lenka, and she's awesome. We actually
it's like Neighborhood Watch.
I know, right? And it has to be because, like you said, these are people that are doing nasty things to our children, and that's not okay. Mickey, you did an amazing thing. I think it was about a month ago in Arizona, where you and Lee Dundas confronted the school board in person. Could you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so I served my school board with a letter of intent to file a claim against their surety bond. I was able to obtain the surety bond for the entire state of Arizona under Governor Ducey. And so when I went down there, I pretty much gave them a list of requirements. They needed to stop these mask mandates for everyone, all faculty, it's not okay to just remove it for the kids. You need to remove it for the teachers as well. Otherwise, it's like them watching the people that they look up to, their mentors, wearing a mask. It's not effective, right? So I wanted it removed for everyone. I wanted them to renegotiate their ESSER contracts. And I wanted them to remove the material in the libraries that's pushing this GLSEN program, this LGBTQ plus program. And everything just magically resolved itself, Christo.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So now after you were done that talk, is it true that you served each individual school board member?
Yes. Yeah. So what we did was we had 10 letters of intent from 10 different parents. And when I serve them, each claim is basically up to $100,000 because it's handled on a per claim basis in this particular policy. So if you think of a teacher, just one teacher, and there's 24,000 students in my district, right? Wow. If you think of one teacher giving advice to get this, injection, this bioweapon to 24 students, that's 24 violations of practicing medicine without a license, without informed consent, because no one knows what the ingredients are. So so that is, to me, a huge liability on their part. And that's what I told them. I said, since when in God's green earth have you ever wanted to take on the liability of one child being injured by either using one, a medical device, or two, getting something injected in them that you don't know what's in it? I said, why would you want that liability anyway? If anything, we're saving them from a much bigger catastrophe.
Exactly. That's right. I don't think they realize the severity of that, because people over the years, at least the last 50 years, 100 years, they really didn't stand like a lot of people like yourself are standing now, and they are not used to that. So they're freaking out in just a communication. Hey, you take care of business here, and I don't want any of these mandates anymore. And they just go crazy on it.
Because they know how much fraud is behind the insurance stuff, and they know what we're going to find if we start digging, and they don't want us to dig. So it's easier for them to just run. And I'm talking, they're running it. So we've got over 11 states now that have backed down. The CDC is now backing down. Biden administration's backing down on masks. Oh, I'm sure it's all just a big coincidence, right?
Yeah, right.
We, the people, have to take ownership, and we have to take wins. Really, just because they run doesn't mean we didn't win. We have literal videos of parents walking in, serving their school board. They run out of the room like cockroaches. They're turning off the light. At the end of the video, you've got someone with literally like a flashlight on their cell phone so the woman can finish her speech. And the very next board meeting, it's 7-0. No more masks, no more contact tracing, no more segregation, no more discrimination, no more evil books in the library. Boom. Just like that.
Hallelujah. That is amazing. Yeah. That is so wonderful. You're such an inspiration to all of us, and we love it. Now, I just want to make sure our audience understands, if they come up against the blanket policy, and then they say only risk management can go after a bond, what is your next step to do when you have that hurdle?
Yeah, so you basically have to go through the risk management department and file the claim and send in your affidavit, which is your sworn testimony along with any evidence, as well as a claim form. Now, on the site, on our website, bondsforthewin.com, we've got a step 3, and we've listed out the rules, regulations in each state for how you're supposed to do that through risk management. We're just appeasing them at this point, Christo. Like, to me, I think there's a much bigger suit brewing.
Yes.
Because they can't just make up corporations to buffer their liabilities.
Right. And that's why they create the corporation, so no one stands accountable. Yeah. But we're going around that because they don't realize when you do an affidavit, especially, you never do it toward a corporation, you do it individual person. Yes. So that would be the CEO and all the members and officers of that individual affidavits, and that's what gives it the power. It's so wonderful, Mickey, because of the fact that a lot of people, a lot of even bar attorneys, have forgotten or not even realize constitutional remedies. And an affidavit is a constitutional remedy. I've even approached a lot of attorneys, and they go, "What? What is that? What do you mean?" And they don't even go there. So we know that 99% of all lawsuits that happen through the bar court fail. They fail because we've been infiltrated in that system, and the judges there just go, no, it does not apply, and it's done. So we're trying to get across to people what you're doing, that affidavits are so powerful because it does give you that tacit admission of guilt. Because you have the truth on your side, that means that they don't, and they will not rebut it in any way, shape, or form. And that's why we always get that tacit admission of guilt. Isn't that true? And that's
just it. We didn't know the rules in their courts, and we're just turning them on them, right?
Exactly.
So they assumed we were guilty if we didn't respond after 3 notices. Let's say I don't know, for taxes or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And so we are now flipping that on them. If we send them 3 affidavits and they still don't reply, they're admitting guilt. And you know more about this than I do, because I haven't been through the process as much. But I'm about to interview tomorrow a group in Washington who literally just served Inslee and parties, friends, the AG in Washington and so on, 60,000 affidavits.
Is that the one where they went with a truck and they unloaded them? That's awesome. 60,000.
Handwritten. I don't know if they're handwritten, but they're all notarized affidavits, personal testimonies of how people are being affected. I mean, that's power way beyond, because they have to hire attorneys to read this information or else they're admitting guilt.
Exactly.
We're just literally getting them with paperwork at this point. Like their sins have piled all the way up to heaven.
That's right. And we are in war. This is a war, good versus evil, and it's become an administrative war. So that's why it's so powerful. By the way, with Washington and Inslee, we found out that Inslee does not have a bond. A governor does not have a bond. Oh, no, we have it. You do? Mm-hmm. Oh, he does have it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, they'll tell you they don't. That's one of the ways of lying and running and lying and running. Don't let them lie to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Plus everyone has to be insured. So think of it like this. If a child fell on the playground, they would need insurance for it, right? It's on their premises, their property. They take the liability of watching over all these children. Same thing if you're a governor, you take on liability. There's liability insurance coverage for them in the event that there's an accident on the building premises or whatever. It's just like if you got in a car accident and you asked for their insurance, they have to give it to you.
Right.
If there was an accident that occurred, they have to give it to you. So if they're not giving you their bond or their liability policy, you can contact your Department of Insurance at your state and they will assist you. Or you can contact your ombudsman. They're required to give it to you. And you can even lie about the situation you're reporting. You don't have to come forward and say, hey, I'm about to go after their criminal liability. You can tell them there was an accident that occurred here and we need to file a claim against the policy.
Okay, that's a good trick right there.
Yeah.
That's fighting fire with fire.
Yeah, they have to give it to you. They can't keep running, but they're praying to God we will go away.
Now you're saying they have to give it to you. Who is the they?
Well, so anyone on the other side of that accident. So if you're in a car accident, you have to exchange your insurance policies, right?
Yes.
So what would happen if I just didn't give them my insurance?
You get arrested, basically.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, they can get arrested if they don't hand over their insurance. There's been an accident. I need to see your insurance policy. This is why you have coverage. This is so you're protected. I mean, you can tell them anything you want, but the bottom line is, so there's that, but then there's also what we call perks. And in the education system, in the school system,
yes,
they are all using these public education risk management pools. So imagine you've got 150 districts looped into a pool of one policy. That policy is then managed by an agent. And the agent is working with the risk management department and the county, as well as this risk management pool. And then the pool, what they're responsible for is they're the ones who interface with the school districts. They're the ones who make sure they renew, make sure they understand the changes in the policies each year, blah, blah, blah. But the agent is the one that generally brings in the insurance providers. So there might be anywhere from 1 to 5 insurance providers on any given pooled policy. Well, it's good to know that, because if you're a parent in a state and you want to help the whole state, it's pretty straightforward to go grab the 4 or 5 pooled policies. We've even posted on our website a whole national directory of perks. Mm. On top of that, they do the same with the city principalities, the municipalities. So I've got a guy in Sedona who just walked, he's a state national, and he was abused by the police officers. Mm-hmm. So he walked right into the city clerk, recorded the whole thing, and requested his bond, requested the police precinct's bond and the mayor's bond. And within 72 hours, he had the policy. And guess what? It was a policy for the entire state of Arizona, every city municipality.
Oh my! What did he do from that point?
He went ahead and filed a claim against. Now, this is another interesting story. I'm getting so many stories. I think a lot of people are worried about becoming a state national because there's an inherent risk of police officers not understanding and abusing them. So I love that Ananda really teaches to walk in both governments, walk in both systems, and in
both jurisdictions.
You don't need to invoke problems, but of course, it's another one of those classic stories. His name is Matthew, he lives in Sedona, and he was showcasing his state national peace flag on his license plate. Cop pulled him over, didn't like his license plate, asked for his license, insurance, whatever. Well, the cop got so angry because he doesn't understand what a state national is. He yanked Matthew out of the car, slammed him on the ground, threw the cuffs on him, basically stole his car, impounded his car, stole his firearm. So this is assault with an aggravated weapon because this police officer he's not in my jurisdiction, right, as a national. So it's like, you're assaulting me and you have a deadly weapon. This is scary. Then he incarcerated him, threw him in jail, so kidnapped him.
Kidnapping.
And then he stole his DNA. He couldn't leave without having to give a sample of DNA.
Wow.
So when Matthew went to the county court, because of course the police officer pressed charges because he bruised his knee while assaulting his victim. So what did the county courts do? They stuck Matthew in the prosecutor's seat and they said, we'll be dropping this case today. Wink, wink.
Wow.
Wink, wink. But they put him in the prosecutor's seat. In other words, you need to prosecute and press charges against this police department. Right. So what's going to happen out of all this is not only did Matthew now press charges against the police department, sent in his affidavit, but he also went ahead and filed a claim against the surety bond.
Of the police officer.
Yeah, and the chief deputy, or what is it, the deputy?
So what happened?
All we need, well, it hasn't resolved yet, but
Gotcha.
All we need is a few examples of this, of police officers actually ending up in jail or ending up paying out big fines, and this won't happen again.
Exactly.
It doesn't take much, guys. It doesn't take much. You just have to be willing to stand in your honor.
Can you share with us anywhere other than Illinois? Because we know Vicky there she was one of the first that got results. Is there any other wins that we can have in other states that you know about?
Yeah, well, so Violet was really successful in Illinois. But there were over 375 parents that signed up to serve their school districts in California, and that whole state backed down on masks within a month.
Wow.
I mean, who would have expected California? Same thing happened in Washington, as did Oregon. So out of nowhere, we got the whole West Coast to back down because I think in some cases, they're even more concerned about their policies not being in order. So, and they don't want us to pull back the curtain on them, right? So again, I feel like what they did, and then you've got the 65,000 affidavits happening in Washington at the higher levels of government. So I feel like obviously those are some states that have been very affected by lockdowns. As you know, you're in Oregon, right?
Yes.
And so, you feel like you're in communist China. And so the people are much more motivated in those states to take action, which is wonderful.
Yes.
It's unfortunate circumstances, but it's wonderful that they're willing to take action and learn something new, because now is a time where we have to get out of the comfort zone, move the ball in the direction we want it to move in, not the way that our paid actors are moving on, fake news TV.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We have to create our own outcomes now. And so what I love is that we're taking out the largest part of their army, their weaponized system. And I really think that if we were to take action, if there's any groups out there that are ready to take action, just start sending letters of intent left and right to everyone,
right.
not even servants, not even public servants, like send it to everyone who's imposing these fake mandates.
We're almost out of time, Mickey, but I just wanted to say one thing for our audience to realize: you are an entrepreneur. You are a mother. You are a businesswoman. You are doing bonds for the win. You are having meetings. I understand you just got back from Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Where you went with,
Mar-a-Lago, yeah.
That too. That's a Norm Crosby statement.
It's a Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. How do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Oh my God.
Well, I feel really fortunate. Like, I feel like God has always been moving his pieces for everybody. We've all been in training for reigning our whole lives. Everything we've ever done has led us into this moment. And when we choose to take part in the greatest story that will ever be told, I truly believe this is that moment. And so I don't want to miss a single thing, Krista. Like, I'm selfish. I don't want to miss a single thing. When it came to the opportunity to go to Mar-a-Lago and to deliver this signed Declaration of Independence, and we now have over 67,000 signatures, it just feels empowering to me. It feels like, it feels like what the forefathers would have done, to march on down and deliver this declaration, because we, the people, now declare and decree over our sovereign nation. That's huge.
Yeah, I think you're expressing it so beautifully that this is really spiritual work. You are doing God's law, God's work, and reminding the people and being in action to make sure that this is a loving, true God planet once again.
Yeah, and it's all in our minds. It's a war for the mind. So all you have to do is move your mind in the direction you want to go. There you go. And I actually think that tipping point just happened, Krista. I don't think this is why nothing can stop what's coming. It's just now we realize we've been set free. Now all we have to do is declare our freedom.
And in that way, we feel that COVID, which was instrumented by the dark, has actually turned against them, because they didn't realize that we were such God-loving people, and we are standing under penalty of death. Actually, we are standing for the truth. God bless you, Mickey, for doing all this work, for enlightening our audience. Can we do this again? We need to do this again.
And do you want to tell people about your coming radio station or TV or channel where you're going to be promoting all the wins that are occurring for state nationals throughout the country?
Yeah, we're real close. I don't know if I should say this, but we're real close to a Brighton TV show. Cool. And then also, of course, we're bringing it constantly with Hidden Truth News. And we're bringing out a lot of information, which I'm sure with most of our audience today, a lot of stuff that you brought out today, they didn't realize. I learned something. I hope you did too. And it's like, what a fun thing to bring out the truth.
Yeah, I love it. So Hidden Truth News, I want everyone to start subscribing, and everyone needs to start, sharing their wins.
Right.
We have the news now, and we have to do the talking points. They're so coordinated by the 1%. I call them the prostitutes for the 1% global elite, because they're getting paid, to do this work. But we as influencers now, we need to take the ball. We need to start showcasing the wins. We need to start bringing people up on stage. These hometown heroes are so anointed for this position in heaven.
Absolutely.
We should be promoting them.
Absolutely. It inspires other people when they hear that people are successful in making a stand. I want to close with you bringing that up. We have one person we're working with. I won't mention where it is, but he was up for actually a couple felonies and this and that were totally fraudulent. And we schooled him on standing for himself. He actually repudiated in 3 days. He was amazing. And he just got the answer that the whole case was exonerated. And he thought he was going to go to jail. Is that amazing or what?
Unbelievable. I'm so excited to learn more from you guys.
Thank you, Mickey, so much. God bless you. And I can't wait till we do it again.
Thanks, Krista. We'll talk soon.